This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
That is the White House. President Trump going over to the Kennedy Center, just about a mile, actually less than a mile away from the White House this morning to make an announcement at 11 a.m. We'll have that here on Real America's Voice. So welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. By the way, check us out in the chat, Getter, Rumble, and on YouTube. Coming up, we've got those trucks. Okay, they're not heading to American Sunrise, but they're in Mexico, and they've got drugs on them, and that's a good thing because the Mexican cartels down there are having some problems because those drugs are gonzo. We will discuss that with a double hit. Ben Berquam, Oscar Blue Ramirez coming to us from the border in a moment. First, though, all of this, the newsroom and the headlines, and I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I guess I'll figure it out in a moment. It's all sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can right the course of America.
The disdain between President Trump and Fed Chair Jerome Powell appears to be moving from name-calling to a potential lawsuit. The White House says the president is considering filing suit against the Fed chair over Powell's management of renovations at the Fed's D.C. headquarters. Federal officials are investigating the cost of facelifts at two historic Fed buildings, alleging poor oversight and potential fraud. According to Fed documents, the cost was initially estimated at $1.9 billion. That price has since ballooned to over $2.4 billion, with President Trump and others arguing that the real number is more than $3 billion. You may remember this meeting between the two just a couple of weeks ago. Now, all of this comes as President Trump continues to be vocal about his wish to remove Jerome Powell as chairman of the central bank. One of his major concerns is Powell's reluctance to cut interest rates. President Trump's $175 billion Golden Dome missile defense system is beginning to take shape. It will reportedly include 4 layers. 1 would be satellite-based. The remaining 3 would be on land with 11 short-range battery sites across the continental U.S., as well as in Alaska and Hawaii. About 3,000 defense contractors got a first look at the proposed system last week. While a basic blueprint for the system is being drafted, there's still uncertainty about the numbers of launchers needed, ground stations, and how many missile sites would ultimately be needed. The Pentagon says it's gathering information from industry experts, academia, and other government agencies in an effort to move the project out of its current infancy stage. Space Force General Michael Gutland has until around November of this year to present a full implementation plan for the Golden Dome. Now to some disturbing news from the Treasury Department. Turns out the country's budget deficit grew to $291 billion in July, which is a nearly 20% increase. That's despite President Trump's tariffs having brought in an additional $21 billion at least. Year to year, the deficit grew by 19% or $47 billion compared to July of last year. Treasury officials say because this July had fewer business days, actual receipts were likely up about $20 billion, meaning a more realistic deficit of about $271 billion is expected. All of this news comes as Tuesday's Consumer Price Index report finds that inflation rose about 0.2 of a percentage point month to month and 2.7% year to year. That's just about in line with industry predictions. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'll have more headlines coming your way in a little bit, including the White House touting its success at the southern border. Ahead, what challenges still remain. We'll have a live report. First, though, a quick look at this day in history. It was on this day in 1961 that the Soviet-backed East German government began constructing the Berlin Wall, separating the city into East Berlin and West Berlin. The wall was built to stop the mass exodus of East Germans fleeing to West Germany. Initially, it was made of just barbed wire and concrete barrier, but eventually that evolved into a concrete structure. The Berlin Wall stood for 3 decades before it was finally torn down. However, pieces of the original structure do still remain as a memorial. More American Sunrise coming your way in 2 minutes.